I think when you get to the NCAA tournament, there's such quality teams, and the wise thing to do is you lock into who you play and try to earn the right to get to the next round. But there's good teams. Everybody had to earn their way into this tournament, whether it's through a conference tournament, at-large bids, and I think there's just very good teams in the whole tournament.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast. Believe it or not, we are still at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, but we've been moved down to the subcontinent with William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer. Mountaineer Mike on this show, William Wilson, he's Money Mike to you on your
Money Mike Freer.
On your all your thousands of social platforms.
We're in the basement.
Yeah, well, that's the Rathskeller. That's another way of putting it. So, guys, the NCAA tournament is going on. We've got Oklahoma, Rhode Island going on. A lot of when's West Virginia play?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow? Okay.
Friday afternoon.
Before we get to that, let's mention Charlotte 49er and Bobcats TV analyst and Henry Williams has unfortunately passed away due to kidney disease, and that's a real tough pill to swallow, and thoughts to his family go out. Really a legend for the Charlotte 49ers. I remember he lit up VCU many a night. His jersey hangs in the rafters, and later went and played overseas. Drafted by the Spurs, second round, but more money overseas, more guaranteed money. And Will, you know you take the guaranteed money over the incentives anytime.
All day.
So you got a quick thought about Henry Williams?
Yeah, it was really a sad moment to hear that. He, like you say, he is a legend in the city. I mean, not just UNC Charlotte, but I mean in the city. When they write the history of basketball in the city, he's a part of it. Over almost 2,400 points for the 49ers, and like you said, his numbers retired. He was an All-American at Charlotte during his senior year. He played in the Goodwill Games, which back then was a big deal. But as a pre-Olympic event, he was very well known, very well respected as a player. And it was just a sad day here when that news came out.
Yeah, when you think of 49ers basketball, to me, 'cause I didn't grow up here, there are three names that come to mind: Henry Williams, Cornbread Maxwell, and Coach Lutz. Bobby Lutz. Those are the three names that come to me, because when I moved here,
good. That's a good three.
That's when they were pretty much almost perennially in the tournament. They were always had really good teams. They were on that cusp of making those moves. And of course, Cornbread, NBA Finals MVP and those types of things. And then Henry Williams. You put those together. Just seeing on social media all the people that had Henry Williams stories.
Yeah.
Of times they've talked to him and met him. Just beside him, because to me, the measure of a man has nothing to do necessarily with your athletic ability. It's just the stories they all had were what he was like as a person.
Yeah.
Not as the basketball player, who he was as a man. I've always said, if you're an athlete or whatever you are in life, your profession, when you die, if all you're known for is how good you were at your profession, you failed in life. Even if you're the best to do what you do. These guys were known as good people. I think that's important.
Was Byron Dinkins also a good? He was a good basketball player too. But that's who I would say. Just an MVP, the league MVP of the Italian League. The Italian League's a legit league.
It was a legit league back in the 90s, too. It was the premier international league out in Europe, like you said. A lot of tributes, as you said, from people. Kenny Anderson, I saw, had a nice tribute because he was his teammate in the Goodwill Games back in the 90s. He had very nice words for Henry Williams. He clearly had an impact on people outside of basketball, outside of the Charlotte 49ers. But, like I said, in the city, he is a legendary figure.
And I think probably most notably minister at Charlotte Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. I think that, to me, says a lot.
Absolutely.
Moving to the NCAA tournament that Henry Williams had Charlotte in almost every year. St. Bonaventure, Radford move on. St. Bonaventure, a team from the Atlantic 10 that I'm real familiar with. I'm really thinking they're going to go far. Radford beat who'd they beat? Was it North Carolina Central?
No, they beat
that was Texas Southern.
LIU.
Touch Southern beat them.
Yeah, so I think St. Bonaventure could actually make some noise.
I picked them to win the game, not just the game in the first four, but I picked them to win against Florida.
Florida, I got
coming
that
up
too, by
today.
the way. It's probably the kiss of death for me.
I mean, you win at St. Bonaventure. People have to understand, Olean, New York is not exactly the gateway to Manhattan when it comes to New York towns. There's really nothing to do. Buffalo looks down on Olean. It's that far away. It's that much.
I didn't even know there's a town named Olean. New York.
Yes.
Is that
I
what
didn't
St.
either.
Bonaventure is?
That's where St. Bonaventure is, and it's
Okay.
you win there, and you're a success there. They'll make a statue for the players and the coaches there.
I remember them in the old ECAC.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in college at West Virginia, they were in the A-10 with us, and that was the players that I knew. That was not the trip you wanted to make. That was a terrible trip up there. It was a bad arena. It was not a good program. They've turned it around considerably. Now they're in the tournament. They're a really good team. I got to watch them this weekend in the A-10. They're a really good team. They easily could
they're
have
a
won
really
it.
good team.
Huggins would have a hard time finding a place to go out after the game to socialize, so to speak. No,
Yes.
you're saying it Olean. Today, Duke against Iona. Don't sleep, Will, on the Iona Gales, once coached by Jim Valvano.
I mean, I sleep on them, but I take a nap on them.
Okay.
Because at the end, Duke is still Duke. Now, can someone up and win and beat Duke? Sure, but I don't think it's going to be out.
This is a situation for Iona.
Yonkers, New York, right?
Not Yonkers, just outside. It's just
My buddy
Mount-
Tommy Dreamer from ECW's
Yeah.
went to Iona. He, to me, is
New Rochelle. I'm sorry,
he
New Rochelle is where it is.
to me, the most notable one. I'm not Jeff Rulin, but
Oh yeah, Jeff Rulin, who was coached by Jim Valvano when they were there. The MAC is a little down this year. That's why they're normally wouldn't be a 15 seed for Iona because their program is really good. Third straight year in the tournament, but the MAC as a whole is a little down. So I agree with you. I think you don't sleep on, but I think Duke should advance without too many issues.
A number one seed, Will, is Villanova, I believe. They're taking on Radford. Radford, not a bad ball club from Mike Pacheco could speak on them being from the Big South. Radford, not bad, but they're definitely not Villanova.
I can sum this up in
you
4
can't
words.
sleep on them.
Lambs to the slaughter.
Okay.
That's all that's just going to be.
I said Sunday that Radford would make some noise in this game. They're obviously not going to win this game. I don't think this would be the 116 game that everybody thinks is this the year.
It's
But
inevitable.
I
It's
think
gonna happen one
Radford's
year.
not a bad team, and if Villanova's not hitting their threes, which they're very prolific at, they could make a mess of things for a while. But Villanova will advance.
Yeah, writhing and screaming in pain is still a noise. You can
All
make
right.
a noise in a tournament, doesn't mean it's a joyful noise.
No, that's true.
But I think they're going to.
You can make a noise calling a timeout.
Exactly. I think Villanova is just too good in so many places. If their 3-point shooting is horrible today or when they play, they got so many weapons, so many horses. They're long, they're big, they're strong, they're physical, they're fast.
Oh, I got them in the Final Four, so I'm on Villanova. But I'm just saying you could end up looking at the scoreboard going, "Geez, when they gonna pull away? When they gonna?"
I don't
pull
have
away?"
them in the Final Four, but that's good. Can you name their nickname of Radford? You know their nickname?
Nope.
Highlanders.
There you go. I knew that. I played against Radford in college. So
I would hope you asked a question.
Well, I'd ask Will because Will seems to know all the real the question. He knows the answers to important questions, not my questions.
I have a plethora of useless knowledge that does no one any good until once every 5 or 6 years. Some weird facts still come out of nowhere.
Well, that would have been one to know for useless
I
knowledge.
let America down. I'm sorry.
Well, that's all right.
I let you down.
We're going to roll to a break here, but we've got more brackets to discuss. We've got Seton Hall, NC State, Davidson, North Carolina. We touched on Duke briefly. We'll get back to Duke. I'll say it again. You can have Duke and North Carolina in the field. I'll take Duke and North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Mountaineer Mike, William Wilson. This is Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
We're going to go a full timeout. All I got to say is it football season yet?
This stuff is too good to pass up. There's so many things that have to go right in a no-hitter.
A huge game changer.
I would have won the Powerball like 6 times. Kevin Casey here, and this is your podcast, Talking About Sports, the Carolina's own sports talk show.
We're talking about sports on
We're talking about sports at ADS. I don't know how to say that.
We're talking about
We're talking about sports in, oh God, I forgot.
ADS.
What is it?
ADSN.
ADSN. Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about sports.
Talking about sports.
We're talking about sports.
Talking sports.
Talking about sports. We're talking about sports on ADSN.
Talking about sports on ADSN.
Welcome back to Talking About Sports. Kevin Casey with William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer. We are in the Bat Cave of the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. A lot of NCAA basketball going on. Later today, we've got Seton Hall and NC State, Gonzaga, and UNC Greensboro here in a few moments. Kentucky and Davidson tonight. Mountaineer Mike, you said, first of all, congratulations. You picked Davidson to win the Atlantic 10 tournament. I was with you on that. But they have Kentucky tonight in Idaho. Of all places, my buddy Kevin Miller out of KIDO may be on hand out there, but you actually are going to take Davidson to beat Kentucky.
I think this is one of my 12-5 upsets. I'm a big fan of Davidson. They're playing really well down the stretch. Peyton Aldridge is a player you're going to find out about if you don't know already. He's one of the best players you haven't heard about. He's a 20 points per night guy, about 6'8", a big guy. He's going to be tough for Kentucky to handle. Now, if Kentucky plays their game, they could easily move on. I just think they've been up and down. They're playing a little bit better, but I think Davidson's going to pull the upset.
Davidson, I really like Will. I think Bob McKillop is a better coach than John Calipari in terms of X's and O's. He's not as well known. He is well known in coaching circles. How do you see Kentucky? I just think that there's just too much talent there.
I think there's too much talent. There's too much athleticism. You know, but I'll give it to you. I can't remember his name now.
I'll say this.
Davidson.
Bob McKillop.
Yeah, McKillop. I think McKillop may be a better X's and O's coach, but I think Calipari is better with today's style of basketball and today's basketball player connecting with today's basketball player. Kentucky has a different type of basketball player than Davidson does. And I think Kentucky, the athleticism, again, the length, the speed, I think there's just too many horses. You got thoroughbreds running against Shetland ponies today. I don't think it's just going to be anywhere
A lot of horses
close.
in Kentucky.
There's a lot of
They
reasons
all
to like
outrun
Kentucky.
Shetland ponies.
They finally started playing defense, and the last few weeks of the season, that was their problem for most of the season. Now, like you said, with that length, with that athleticism, if they can do that throughout the tournament, they could win the region. But I think this is where Davidson makes some noise again.
I think there's more potential pro NBA potential William Wilson Clothing clients at Kentucky, but there may be some more Charlotte area business client potential for Davidson. That's what I would say.
Yeah, there's some really nice basketball players going to be applying for corporate jobs next year.
If you got a degree from Davidson, that's a leg up. That'll get you in a lot of interviews.
That's true.
Plus, Peyton Aldridge is a pro. He's a pro. He's going to be on somebody's roster.
Yeah, but I'd rather have an offer letter from the Hornets than from Deloitte.
Well, okay.
I'm just saying.
Gonzaga, UNC Greensboro. Are they the Spartans? UNC Greensboro. I think they're the Spartans. I think Wes Miller from Charlotte played at North Carolina under Roy Williams. I think he's the head coach at UNCG. Are they in the Southern Conference, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. So that's not bad. But Gonzaga's a good ball club. What are they? Are they a 2?
They are
2, 3,
a 4 seed this year.
Wow, that's kind of down for Gonzaga.
I got Gonzaga is my pick to make it to. I got them going all the way to the Elite Eight again, one step away from another Final Four appearance after they made it to the championship game last year. Yeah, they're a really good team.
Mark Few, is he the head coach?
Yep, he's still the head coach. And you mentioned McKillop, one of the more respected coaches in the nation. Right up there is Mark Few.
And he did not take the big money and leave. He stayed at Gonzaga, whereas the other guys, there was some other guy they had that was good, kind of got them going, and he went to somewhere else and didn't do so well, and he got fired. So
he's a very good coach.
You got Gonzaga or UNCG, Will?
I've got Gonzaga. There's no substitute for experience.
Yeah.
You know, they've been there before. They've gone deep in it. They've played. Some of these guys have played some. Like I said last year, they played a championship game. They're battle tested. They know what it's like if they're down. They know how to fight back, which I don't think they'll end up being down at all. But if they are, they know how to fight back. They're going to stay poised. They can look at each other and say, look, we got this. They trust each other. They know each other. I think this is going to be chalk.
Seton Hall, NC State. Seton Hall's been good all year. Mike, you're from the New York, New Jersey area. NC State, Coach Keats, I believe. John Tobias, JT, says could be the ACC Coach of the Year. NC State's got a lot of talent, beaten a lot of good ball clubs this year. I actually have them beating Seton Hall.
They've beaten a lot of good ball clubs this year. Duke, Clemson, North Carolina. It's a really good first season for Coach Keats. They've also had some bad losses too, which is it's why they are the seed that they are. I have them winning this region, or not this region, excuse me, this game against Seton Hall. But Seton Hall is not a bad team either. Kevin Willard is an excellent coach as well. I think NC State, they're really playing well. They've gotten up for the big games, and once you're in the tournament, you're playing nothing but big games, whether you like it or not.
Will, you got a box at the Spectrum Center for tomorrow's action, the NCAA. You got the private suite going, or are you going to be courtside?
No, that'd be nice. I've actually got to fly to Florida tomorrow.
Business,
to
right?
Meet with a client. Yeah.
Okay, well that takes priority.
But I think NC State's got this one because again, those guys at NC State, they bought into their coach. They bought into him. He recruited some good guys, and they basically played championship games 3 or 4 times this year.
They stole one of my guys from VCU.
Yeah, you know, playing Duke, playing Carolina, beating these guys that they've beaten. For those guys as freshmen, as young guys, new system, they have a lot of confidence and swagger that they haven't had at NC State in a long time.
Now, one of the issues, I mean, if you want to, one of the things that concerns you about NC State, 2 of their last 3 games they lost, and it was to Georgia Tech and Boston College. And now
Boston College, as you pointed out, has been coming on.
They've been putting points on the board, but it's still the bottom feeder of the ACC, and those are the teams you have to beat if you want to really move up in the conference standing. So I still like NC State. I agree with you. I think the teams they've beaten this year is enough for me to back them. But there's some red flags.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, I think there's one of those, but when they lost to those, who did they beat right before they lost to them? Sometimes it's these guys, they have the letdown games. They've been, and again, these kids are still young. You know, you see professionals do it.
Yep.
So professionals do it. Obviously, college kids can do it. They'll beat these world beaters. Then they just think they can just coast in. These guys, they're getting everyone's best player. I think that's all that was.
Now, I asked you if you were going to be at the games tomorrow here in Charlotte, but you got a client down in Florida. Virginia, Maryland, Baltimore County is the late game. You going to be back in time for that, or is this a weekend deal?
I'll be back Saturday morning.
Okay, all right. So you going to go out with Maryland, Baltimore County, or are you going to take the top seed Virginia Cavaliers?
I mean, I don't. Like I told you last show, I'm a numbers guy, and the math doesn't add up for me for Virginia to lose to UMBC. Anytime you got 4 letters in your name, unless you're UNLV from the 90s.
UCLA? Well, they're out too.
Case in point.
UNC Charlotte? UNCC? I don't know.
If you got 4 letters in your name, odds are I'm not gonna put my money on you if I were a gambler.
So, but for entertainment purposes only. Lipscomb and North Carolina. You ever heard of Lipscomb? Do you know where that is?
I knew a girl named Tara Lipscomb.
You know a lot of girls, from what I hear, and seen. North Carolina, Lipscomb. What do you think about that, Mike?
I mean, it's going to be you're the defending champions. You're a 2 seed. You're not losing your first game to Lipscomb. But I will say this, and North Carolina fans, don't hate me on this, but
they will.
That's as far as they go.
Don't say that because I got them in the title game.
That's as far as North Carolina goes.
They're the defending champs, man.
I got you.
I can't go with. I can't. Who you got? Who are they losing to? Who do you have them losing to?
I have them losing to Providence in the second round.
Now that's a good ball club too. Now
Providence,
I do like
played
Providence.
really well at the end of the year. They put a real good effort in the Big East tournament, and I'm a fan of their coach, Ed Cooley.
It's not Rick Pitino these days.
No, it's Ed Cooley, and I like him as a coach, and I think their team is playing well, and that's my one upset for the second round.
A security walked Mike to his car.
Make
sure he gets to his car.
There's
a bunch of Chapel Hill fans upstairs.
They have to find us first.
Now my pastor father Jerome out at St. James Catholic. We do root for the Catholic schools, Providence being one of them, but I can't even go with that. Now,
that's all right.
North Carolina, they're going to maybe after a big win against Lipscomb, maybe they're going to head to the timeout in Chapel Hill. Kevin Tolbert and our ADSN staff was out at the timeout recently, and they bring us this interesting feature.
I'm Eddie Williams. I'm the owner of Time Out Restaurant in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And we're right here located in the heart of Chapel Hill, right across from campus. We've been here for about 40 years. We're open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We specialize in tailgating and fried chicken and barbecue. The best way to get your tailgate started in the morning time is with chicken and cheddar biscuits. We have sausage, egg, and cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese, steak. But we're really known for the chicken and cheddar biscuit. That's what we're our number one, and macaroni. The best you've ever eaten. The way we make the chicken cheddar biscuit is the old Southern tradition. We do everything the real way, the from scratch way. We make the biscuits homemade every couple of hours, real chicken breast fried with our own special secret ingredients, and we fillet it off the bone straight onto the biscuit to make the sandwich. We feel like we're a Carolina tradition, and we've got a lot of history and nostalgia of Carolina. We have dignitaries from all over the country come in. We've had Michael Jordan, we've had every famous football player, basketball player, lacrosse, tennis, golf, you name it. We soccer, we do it all. Not only are we known for the chicken and cheddar biscuit, which is our number one, but we have barbecue sliders, we have any kind of pork barbecue, chicken barbecue, we have mini country ham biscuits, we have all the fixin', all the sides, great cinnamon rolls, fried chicken. We're known for chicken. We're kind of like everything chicken. The perfect way to start your tailgate, and it always ensures a Carolina win.
All right, now, as you saw from the Time Out restaurant in Chapel Hill, they got the made-from-scratch chicken. That's enough for me to go there. I'm definitely – and the cheddar biscuit, you've seen these things. Every time the TV cameras show up for a Duke, North Carolina basketball game, they're always at the Time Out. So definitely want to whether it be a big win against Lipscomb or a football game or women's soccer, lacrosse, or whatever, definitely go over to the Time Out restaurant. So we've got more tournament action. Tubby Smith out. He had some strong commentary recently, but we've got more NCAA basketball. There's some Carolina Panther news coming up next. Talking about sports from the basement, Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here in the basement of the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. We've got NCAA basketball with Tennessee and Wright State in action. Providence is playing Oklahoma. No, not Providence. Who's playing Oklahoma? Rhode Island?
Rhode Island.
So some potential giant killers. Texas Southern, Montana.
Tennessee's up 21-10.
I did pick Tennessee. I may have picked the wrong team over Wright State, but I definitely picked Tennessee over Wright State. How about Texas Southern, Montana, and Buffalo? Do you guys know what the nicknames of these schools are?
Buffalo is the Bulls.
All right.
Montana, the Grizzlies.
Right.
And Texas Southern are the Fighting Lone Star Staters.
I don't know. I think Michael Strahan played football there. They're in Houston, so I think that's good. I don't know who any of these. Mike, who are these guys playing?
Texas Southern has Xavier for starters.
I got Xavier. Who you got?
Most people, they're the 16th seed.
Montana?
Montana has, good question, Buffalo has Arizona, and Montana has Michigan. Montana could give Michigan a battle. I'm going to go with Michigan's one of my Final Four teams.
Well, you may not like John Beilein after leaving West Virginia.
John
but
Beilein
I think
is one of my favorite coaches in the world. He has I have no issues with him. No Mountaineer fan should ever have an issue with him. He did.
You like him better than Rich Rodriguez?
When Rich Rod left, I was annoyed. When Coach Beilein left, I was sad.
Okay. Montana and Buffalo. Buffalo plays Arizona. Is that what you said?
That's going to be a tough one.
A lot of cash rumored to be floating around Arizona and Tucson. So
Arizona is a lot of people's pick to win it all, or at least get to the Final Four because of the way they're playing right now.
They have a couple
not
of big
my
guys.
pick, but
they picked a good time to get hot.
Absolutely, and they have the best player in the country.
Wrong time to get NCAA scrutiny.
Yeah, but that'll come afterwards, I imagine.
Yeah.
Big Ten hasn't won a national title since 2010 in Michigan State. President Obama, I believe, filled out a bracket, and he picked Michigan State. Are you going to go that far and go all the way with Michigan State?
No, I can't go that far with that. I mean, I think they'll go far, maybe Final Four, but I don't think I can pull the trigger on Michigan State winning the whole thing.
They're in a tough. That region, to me, the Midwest region, is the toughest of the four. When you have Kansas, the Big 12 champs, you have Duke, which was a preseason number one.
Absolute number one toughest.
And you have
draw.
Michigan State, which won the regular season in the Big Ten. And you have the 4 seed, which is Auburn, the SEC regular season champ. You have the 5 seed Clemson, which is this is a really difficult region. And I don't have Michigan State getting out of it. I have Duke, and I have Duke beating Michigan State in the Sweet 16. But if someone says they like the Spartans or whatever, I couldn't say you were crazy because Tom Izzo,
great coach.
He's a great coach. He hasn't been there in a while now. People think he seems to get there every other year or whatever. It's been about 7 years, I believe, since he's made it to the Final Four, so it's not a lock.
Yeah, it's been a while. Like I said, whoever comes out of there, I think the winner of it all comes out of this bracket. It's because
Thank you. I hope you're right.
I mean, because you got to go through so many. Like,
well, I have that too.
You have to go through so many. Like this is murderer's row.
Yep.
Of all those, Villanova's got it. They can kind of slide through.
I know Texas Southern's, Montana's, Buffalo's, and Wright State's in this division.
Yeah, and before we thought on, we just kind of we didn't gloss over. We just completely avoided North Carolina Central. They lost yesterday, but they're North Carolina school. Right up the street there in Durham.
In Durham, right?
Their third time going. I think second or third time going.
Second time in the last 3 years, I believe.
I like North Carolina Central.
And their thing is they lost 2 of their key guys early in the season for the season.
Yep.
And for them to still make it that far, I think they'll be back next year.
There's a lot of people that think I can't remember his name now. The head coach at
LaVelle Moulton.
Yeah, that he would be a good fit at Charlotte.
Absolutely.
I think that would be a great idea.
And he wears William Wilson on the bench, so that's always.
I was going to say, don't you have you? And I'm not. I know you didn't bring it up just because of that, because you're in tune with the sports scene in North Carolina, but didn't you have? And you just pointed out you got the coach. Wears William Wilson clothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a new client.
That's good.
But he's a good guy, and those guys buy into his program.
Yeah.
They buy into his system.
He's buying into your program.
Yeah, but
I like that.
That's always nice. But they just, like I said, you lost 2. When you lose 2 of your guys in basketball, that's 40%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do that and lose them early in the season and still be able to have someone, 2 guys step up and get you to win the championship for your conference, and They didn't play so well yesterday. They couldn't shoot.
I was surprised. I was surprised they played.
That was Texas Southern that beat them.
Yeah, I was surprised they played. I don't want to say as poorly as they did. I expected them to play a little bit better. I really, honestly had Texas Southern winning that game or whatever, but I thought it would be a lot closer. And you're right. They just had some issues shooting, and it kind of caught them. And because Texas Southern did not impress the heck out of me in that game.
They recruit Houston, and that's a bigger area to recruit from than wherever Central is.
But they just right before halftime, Central started closing it up.
Yep.
And then they stayed close for a little bit. They just could not find the bottom of
Yeah,
the
and
barrel.
you got to be able to shoot to advance in this tournament.
Yeah.
No
I
matter
think
who you
the
play.
key is going to be whoever, as it relates to the Charlotte 49ers, who gets the athletic director's job, because the new AD is going to make the call on a new football coach, potentially a new football coach. I think that'd be a great
It's
idea.
time.
It's beyond time. And an interim basketball coach. I like your idea for the coach at Central to at least get a lot of consideration, maybe even get an interview. And I think if he gets an interview wearing a William Wilson suit, that could be the difference in getting the job.
He coached with Coach K a couple of summers, for these summer leagues. So he's gotten some.
And he's been on his staff with some international tournaments.
Yeah. So I mean, he's been under the tutelage of a true master.
You need a proven coach after you just went through the experiment with Mark Price that did not work out. Not that he was an assistant with the Bobcats or whatever, the Hornets, before he came on board. But he didn't have the experience as a college coach. He didn't have the experience as being out recruiting. You're right. This gentleman has the experience. He's a winner, and he's a North Carolina guy. Yep. I think he'd be able to bring in the right kids. And you don't need a name to run your program. You need the right coach.
Right.
And I think I agree. I think he'd be an excellent choice.
Now, Will, I would think if he was on Coach K's staff on international tournaments, FIBA, and World Championships and Olympic staffs, I think that maybe Coach K would put in a good word for him.
Oh, I can't see why he wouldn't. I think if he's
That can't
available,
hurt.
if he's available, and if you don't go after him, whoever your new AD is, then go after him, fire them immediately, because they're not serious. But unless they bring in just a super rock star, because even somebody who goes, well, who's LaVelle Moulton? They can say, well, he did this. He coached with Coach K. As soon as you say that, everyone in Carolina is like, okay, he's good.
Yeah, and Ed McLaughlin, the AD at VCU, if he doesn't get football, he may want to look at the Charlotte 49ers job, because that might cause some uproar there at VCU. So I'm with you. I'm liking the coach at Central to be the new coach at Charlotte. So we'll see. We got one more bracket, I think, some more college news to talk about. Tubby Smith out at Memphis. Penny Hardaway rumored to be heading to Memphis. That's Reggie's hometown. And we've got NIT coming up. We've got a lot more. We're gonna go with Tubby now. All right, it said on the next segment, but that's okay. I'm getting overruled. I feel like Alexander Hamilton here. I'm not in charge, but Tubby Smith came out with some strong comments, Mike. He's now out at Memphis.
Yeah, and they want Penny Hardaway in, and it sounds like they're going to bring Larry Brown with them to help him.
Like
that's
the
one of
Larry
the-
Brown.
The
Like
Larry
he-
Brown.
Really?
That's what
The guy who wanted to draft DJ Augustin over Brooke Lopez?
Absolutely. I heard that's a guy, he was rumored to be on the staff to help Penny Anthony get his, help him out with being the coach.
Same guy that rather had Raymond Felton and Sean May instead of
Yes, Kevin.
instead of
same
Chris
guy.
Paul. that guy.
Are you saying he's not a good coach?
He's a horrible evaluator of talent.
Well, he's
But he's
won
a- but he's
championships on 3 different levels, so
And
I agree.
he won at
I don't think
Kansas,
he's that
and they
bad.
went on probation. He won a title with did he win one in the ABA? I know he won one with
he's not going to be the head coach here, so that's all irrelevant.
All right.
None of that. The fact is, they won a championship. The guy knows how to coach basketball, and he knows how to develop guys.
Greg Popovich
And he's
is a
gonna-
big supporter
and
of
he's gonna
Larry
be-
Brown.
Yeah, and he's going to be that guy that
Stabilizing influence, maybe?
No, he's going to be the person that Penny can lean on.
Yeah, you
while
need
he's
that
learning.
guy. If you're inexperienced as a coach, you need a proven professional to show you the ropes, basically, for lack of a better phrase. And I don't know if it's going to happen. That was just a rumor when these rumors started swirling. This reeks to me like when Houston hired Clyde Drexler to be the Cougars head coach a few years ago, and it just never worked out. He wasn't
A Mark Price type situation?
kind of a Mark Price, or it's St. John's hiring Chris Mullen. At least Mullen looks like he's into it. He's improving the team. Clyde Drexler didn't really, the enthusiasm wasn't there. He didn't get the kids that you needed, like you say, despite being in that area. I don't know. It sounds like Penny Hardaway is serious about getting into coaching. He wants to do it. And I don't know if you just walk into a head coaching job and expect immediate success.
Well, I mean, you got to look at, and I think if the Larry Brown package is true, I mean, that could be huge, because that way he's really not just walking into a head coaching job per se.
Right.
He's not on an island all by himself. He's got someone that can teach him the ropes. Because the big thing with NCAA, on the court is one thing, all the rules in recruiting. It's easy to break a rule in recruiting.
Larry Brown would know about that.
It's easy to get your whole program killed from the beginning. So I think, if you can put that package together, or even if it's not Larry Brown, somebody. And I think Penny's a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a smart guy. He's a Memphis guy.
Right.
I think he can recruit some guys. He still hasn't been out of the game. He hasn't been out of the game long enough that people don't know who he is.
Right.
So he can recruit some good guys. He knows the game. He understands. He's played with some legends. He's played at some big games. So he's got credentials. When he walks into someone's home, he can say, "Look, I know what it takes to be in the league. I was a superstar."
Oh yeah, I mean, you show him around campus, you show him around the arena or whatever. He's around. And like you said, he is a legend at Memphis. He definitely comes with a lot of prestige. And, I mean, personally, I hope he works out well. Memphis is a great job. It's a great city. They love basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's more Patrick Ewing going to Georgetown kind of success, because he had a good first year there, as opposed to Clyde Drexler. Clyde kind of, you never see him in coaching after that. He kind of walked into that and walked out of it, didn't work out.
Is Little Penny going to be an assistant?
Well, they talked about that as well.
The thing is, Clyde probably just got a taste of it, just didn't like it. No,
Yeah.
sometimes you just go, you know what? He's like, I don't like it.
He's a Rockets TV
rich.
analyst.
Well,
He's like, I'm rich. I don't need to do it. Why am I going to deal with this aggravation of something I don't?
And that's
like?
why I'm hoping that, I mean, Patrick Ewing took the Georgetown job. He was a longtime assistant at the NBA level. He coached under some, great coaches. He had to pray. He wants to be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Georgetown, takes over his alma mater. That's a lot different than Clyde Drexler just walking into it. So let me give this a shot. It doesn't work out. I'm hoping it's more towards the Patrick Ewing Georgetown.
And if Penny gets the job, one thing he can say, if Larry Brown's part of the package, Larry Brown coached in that league at SMU, and Larry Brown is well connected with a vast network of strong and highly thought of assistants that can help him with.
And at the end of the day, Larry Brown is still he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Absolutely.
He wins with whatever. He won here. He won here with the Bobcats.
Carolina Cougars.
He just didn't do it long enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only place he didn't win was with my Knicks there for 1 year.
The game changed on him, but a lot of people didn't win with the Knicks.
Yeah, and they still aren't.
Exactly.
Jesus would be 500 with the Knicks.
That's it would take a miracle, but he could make it happen. All right, we've got some NFL news and notes coming up. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer. I'm Kevin Casey. We've got more talking about sports coming up right after
Money
this.
Mike.
Welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Not our usual surroundings, but we're here in the Rathskeller, the basement, but still lots of action going on here with Mountaineer Money Mike Freer, as William Wilson wants to call him. And Carolina Panthers sale is, I guess, going on. Big news is Julius Peppers says he's going to come back for one more year. Gets a good contract, I'm sure. It'd be good for him to finish out the contract.
Yeah, it's a good move.
I think he was productive.
Yeah, it was very productive for his time there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a good move.
I think an absolutely horrible move for Carolina. And Marty Herney, someone reminded me, he is a former general manager for a reason. Trading a young and up-and-coming starter in the corner, Daryl Worley, for a guy who I think by the time they hit the field next year, for Torrey Smith, who I think is a third or fourth receiver at best, I think. Why do you trade a guy like Daryl Worley? Where did he play college, by the way?
I believe he went to West Virginia.
He did. Now
smooth there. That was so smooth.
I talked to Daryl Worley a few times after games. This guy, I think, is really coming on. I think it was a mistake, but they've since made up for it, I guess you could say it, by signing Clemson's Rashawn Breeland, formerly of the Redskins, who had a hard time covering Des Bryant.
A lot of people have a hard time.
Well,
covering Des Bryant.
he had a lot of problems, by the way. So
Yeah, you can't use
gonna-
that as your gauge.
So you give up a guy on a rookie contract to sign a guy $8 million a year in Breland, and you also are going to pay $5 million a year for Torrey Smith. I'm questioning some of these moves here of Marty Herney.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes here's what I'm hoping, because the Panthers receiver core is still young. You know, I think they want some leadership somewhere. Roman Harper showed in the defensive safety end what difference he made when they put him on that roster. He wasn't the fastest guy. He was never the fastest guy, but he was smart. He showed those guys how to move around, and Roman made that defense better.
He was.
And I think he's hoping that Torrey Smith can do the same thing there. Sometimes you're not paying for what you can get on the field. You're paying for what you can impart in the locker room.
Like a Jericho Cotchery type situation?
Exactly. Except Jericho's not a boisterous guy. That's just not who he is. He's more of a Julius Peppers kind of guy. He's like, I'm going to do my deal on the field. He's not that talker. I think Torrey Smith's probably more of a talker in the locker room, more of a coaching type guy. He's played some big games. I think he's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was on the Ravens.
Yeah, so, this guy. He's
And the
played
Eagles.
And the Eagles, correct, yes.
So he's got a couple rings.
Yeah, so he's got rings. He's played with some legends. So he can walk in with some cachet for these young guys and say, look, this is what you need to do. And you got Cam, who's never been consistent with any of his receivers. So he could probably even talk with Cam and say, look, maybe, kind of help show the receivers how to talk with the quarterbacks and kind of play that guide in the middle. And if you can make this receiving core better with their O-line work and all the other stuff they're going to do, he's worth every penny you're going to pay him.
I think Marty thinks differently about Daryl Worley than you do. Clearly,
He's the GM and I'm not.
No, they did not like the cornerback position at the end of the year. The young guys, they thought they weren't getting any better.
Bradbury over Worley.
Yeah, and
Bradbury had some good games too, though.
But I'm just saying, I don't think they thought very highly of that position. The young guys at the end of the season. Torrey Smith sounds like a great locker room guy, like as you said. The reputation with him, however, is the drops. He's got a history of drops.
Not to interrupt you, but I'll interrupt you here. Mike, we've got James King here from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with the Wisconsin Bucky Badger beer cheese pizza. Pretzel. Do we have a Speedy Pizza on down there somewhere? Oh. That's like that's one of my new favorite gimmicks. And
upstate New York right here.
Upstate. Well, there you go. Mike, Mountaineer Mike's a New York guy.
Absolutely.
That looks so good. It just needs some chicken. It seems so healthy with pizza.
It is. Well, it is. It's
pizza shouldn't be healthy.
We got some kind of quesadilla.
It is excellent.
We got a quesadilla gimmick over there, and we got some William Wilson wings over there.
Yeah. So that sounds good. William Wilson wings.
We should just switch it out.
Reggie Walker says they should be called Reggie Walker wings. I dubbed them William Wilson wings. That was just my initial reaction.
And I agree.
And who's here and who's not?
Exactly.
We should just switch it out during the next break.
Did you just say I was a genius?
You're a genius.
Thank you very much. It's the first time you've ever said that.
We got room to slide one more of those over here.
That's the first time you've ever called me a genius. I'm going to hold you to that.
It's on tape.
One good thing I can say about Marty Herney doing a great job in his talent evaluation, letting Jonathan Stewart go. I think he was always looking for a place to fall down. I think his production did not match the paycheck. He's now signed with the former GM, Dave Gettleman, who I think I held in high regard up until he made this signing, unless it's a veteran minimum plus incentives. I don't think Jay Stu's going to do well in New York, and I think if Saquon Barkley's on the board when they pick, I believe, two. If he's on the board, watch for the Giants. Now Eli Manning is
he's
on the
insurance, I think, more than anything. I don't think based on the way he produced for the Carolina Panthers this past season and the season before, really, because of his injuries, because I don't think they view him as a walk-in starter. I think at the very least he's going to have to earn any time to be in that lineup. I think he is an insurance policy, a backup, kind of like D'Angelo Williams was when he left the Panthers and went to the Steelers. He wasn't a starter until there were some injuries. I think they view him in that role, and that could be a productive role. If you work Jonathan Stewart too much these days, it could be trouble for you.
Be injured.
But I think Saquon Barkley would be there. I can't imagine how you could let him up.
Cleveland's rumored to be taking him, but one thing, and then Star Lutulele signing with Carolina Panther North. That's the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Is it Sean McDermott? See up there?
McDermott, yes. He keeps taking the defensive
And
guys.
Brandon Bell, the former Panthers assistant GM, is now the GM there. So he's getting so who went up there that we know of? Kelvin Benjamin was up there. Mike Tolbert was up there. Now Star Lutulele's up there. and some other coaches have been going up there. So a lot of familiarity with Buffalo and the Carolina Panthers. So
I think Hurney's most risky move, and of all the players he's released, I think if anything's going to hurt, Kurt Coleman. He's now with the Saints.
That is going to hurt.
I think Kurt Coleman was much more important to this team than he got credit for, because he's a quiet guy. He's like a Luke Kuechly kind of guy. He doesn't talk a whole lot, but he's not the guy they run up to interview. But he was smart. He was a ball hawk. You didn't run over him. If he wrapped his hands around you, he either tackled you or he held you long enough to get tackled.
There you William Wilson wings.
There you go.
And looks like some kind of quesadilla gimmick there.
But
So that's all good.
I think Kurt Coleman is the biggest loss we've had, or the Panthers have had.
Now, I will say this, working for CBS Sports Radio and Fox Sports Radio and SB Nation Radio, covering Carolina Panther games, Kurt Coleman was a guy that the networks would always want to talk to individually, one-on-one, after the initial media horde. To me, that's kind of a measurement to me that if you're one of the mainline stars, that means you're a legit guy. If the networks want to talk to you, it's not like they're talking to the long snapper or the holder,
right.
Or the punter.
You looked that year when Josh Norman got all that notoriety.
That was my guy.
At the end of the year,
love Josh Norman.
But at the end of the year, Coleman had twice as many interceptions as Tolbert is.
So I like. By the way, I like Josh Norman. He's from.
Yeah, I like Josh too. Josh is a great guy.
He covered Des Bryant and told him about it.
But the fact is, at the end of the season, Kurt Coleman had more interceptions than Josh Norman did that season.
No one
talked about him. Everybody talked about Luke, TD, and Josh Norman.
What do you make of the Browns? They got I think a very underrated guy in Tyrod Taylor. I would have loved to have had him in Washington. We got a good guy in Alex Smith, but Cleveland has made a lot of moves.
They are the off-season champions there. They get the trophy for the off-season
champs every year.
But if you're Cleveland, you take that as a win.
That is.
Because usually they're the off-season losers.
And nobody's complaining about the moves. They are just talking about it. While we're talking, they probably made another trade.
What's his name from Miami? Did they get him, the receiver?
Landry Jones?
Is that the guy, the wide receiver?
No, Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry. They get him?
I believe so.
And if they add Saquon Barkley at one, they'd have a top-tier running back. They have a top-tier receiver, a legit, I think, at least a 10 to 20 NFL starter in Tyrod Taylor.
Now, Joe Thomas retired.
That hurts.
So that's going to hurt. But they also brought in Chris Smith, former Razorback. They just brought him in as defensive end. They just signed him earlier this week.
Ndamukong Suh's available for the right fee. He's been rumored to be cut from the Dolphins. Formerly the highest-paid defensive player in the year, $19 million a year, so he's available.
$19 million plus fines.
Well, you have to take that into consideration.
Plus a headache. Yeah.
He never met anyone's ankle he didn't want to step on. Trevor Siemian, I think he was traded by the Denver Broncos to the Vikings, who signed Corporal Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins.
A lot of moves there.
I will say this, Will. You're close to a lot of players in a lot of leagues.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really like, because I'm not an owner, so I'm not having to pay the salaries, I like the fact that Kirk Cousins got a fully guaranteed contract, and a lot of the players are definitely on board. And I think it's high time that the NFL, which I think has is most physically demanding sport, gets fully guaranteed contracts.
Kirk Coleman signed. Kirk Cousins just signed the most significant contract in the history of the NFL.
Absolutely.
It's because now you set the precedent for guaranteed money. So now these guys got to start signing real contracts. You can't sign a guy to a 5-year, $180 million contract knowing you'll only pay him $50 because you're going to tell him you're going to cut and release. And
the number may look lower when you start signing, but the guarantee is what's going to. Yes,
it's a real number, and sign a real number with a contingency buyout kind of deal if they don't perform. Almost like a reverse incentive.
How'd you like to be the Vikings? You had 3 quarterbacks last year in Bridgewater, Bradford, Case Keenum, and they're all gone, and you bring in Kirk Cousins.
Well, he had a better year than all those guys.
I don't disagree. It's just the revolving door of and you made it to the NFC Championship game.
Maybe they thought they were a quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl, and Cousins couldn't get it done in Washington, put up great stats in garbage time, but never could get a playoff win for the Redskins.
They're like the quarterback in high school that was a stud, goes to college, and you're like, oh, he's garbage.
All right, so that and Tyrann Mathieu took a pay cut. The Honey Badger, he's out of the Cardinals. Could he be a safety that Carolina looks at?
He won't be out for long.
Yeah, he won't be out for long at all. I hope Dallas looks at him, to be honest with you. But he's gone because he wouldn't take a pay cut.
Odell Beckham there's a controversial video supposedly out about him. You're in with the social scene. Have you heard about that?
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
What I've heard doesn't sound very good if you're Odell Beckham.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good for him, but at the end of the day, it's the NFL. If you can perform, somebody will sign you.
And he's coming up on a contract, but he's got a lot of sponsors, so maybe he's got a lot of money to worry about.
I think Eli wants him. If Eli wants him there, because Eli's at the end of his career.
All right, so we've got golf, Tiger Woods, Randy Joyner weighing in, our guy from he's your guy from Valentine. So we'll talk some golf and some final thoughts here on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with great food, thanks to James King from
William Wilson Wings.
And the William Wilson Wings, Bucky Badger Beer Cheese, the New York State Speedy Pizza in honor of Mountaineer Mike, who's a New York State native. Now, I'll tell you who's really coming back is Tiger Woods. He looked good. Did he not finish like a stroke out of the lead, or
one shot back?
One shot from a playoff.
One stroke back from a playoff, and he looks great. Everyone is saying the stroke, the swing. There's no hesitation. There's no wincing. There's nothing going on, and it looks like if he just limits the night putting, he'll be back.
Well, he never winced unless he had a bad shot. Every time he hit a bad drive, his back hurt. When he hit a good drive, he kept
It happens
walking.
to me a lot.
Well, we all wins looking at your good swing.
Well, that's because I have a bad back.
I don't know if you got a bad back, but you got a bad swing.
Well,
I mean, I watched him this weekend. He really played well. He just on Sunday he had really a lot of opportunities to get the lead and hang out. He just couldn't make any putts. It happens, but he really he played the ball well, hit the ball well for most of the tournament. It was really good to see him back there. And now he's a captain of the President's Cup upcoming.
Yeah.
Now we saw Randy Joyner out at Top Golf earlier in one of our earlier episodes. He's the club pro, I believe, at Valentine, and he has some thoughts on Tiger Woods and maybe some tips. And I need to pay attention to this and tips on improving your swing.
Hi everybody, Randy Joyner here at Valentine Country Club. Spring is almost here. I know it's been a very cold winter and wet winter here in the Carolinas, but spring's almost here. The Masters is right around the corner, and believe it or not, and I'm one of those guys that wasn't sure he was going to do this, Tiger Woods is back, and he's back in a big way. He finished second last week, as most of you know, in the Valspar Championship. Had a chance to win on 18 with a birdie putt, made a great birdie putt on 17 to get within a shot of Patrick Reed's lead at the time. Tiger is back in many ways. I'll tell you what I see, a couple of things I see. First of all, in his golf swing, it's much more athletic. After all of those back surgeries, I think 3 different back surgeries now, after all of that, Tiger's swing looks more athletic to me than it did even in 2000. It's much more right arm driven, a lot more athletic, and he's hitting shots again, which is very important. He's got the driver issue worked out. He's playing the TaylorMade driver. He switched a couple of shafts after the Honda, got that worked out, and I'm going to tell you, he's going to be a big favorite, in my mind anyway, to win at Bay Hill. I think Tiger's won 5 or 6 times at Bay Hill, and I don't see why he would not be your favorite going into this week. If he doesn't win, I think he gets a great top 5 finish there. He'll take a couple of weeks off, and he'll be a big favorite at Augusta because that's a golf course you have to know and you have to be a great putter, and Tiger is putting as well as anybody on tour right now. So with the spring season right around the corner here in the Carolinas, we've got the Masters coming up. Wells Fargo Championship will be here the first week of May. I'm going to give you guys a tip to get your season off to the right start. I'm going to talk about a little pitch shot. Tiger holed a pitch shot in his third round of the Valspar Championship. I'm going to show you what he does on his pitch shot. So he had a little pitch shot like this. Pitching is taught quite differently in magazines than the way the tour player does it. So I'm going to show you what I work with the tour players I coach and what Tiger does when he's hitting these little pitch shots around the green. First of all, most of you are taught to play the ball back in your stance. I don't want you to play the ball back in your stance when you're hitting a pitch shot. Play the ball right off your spine. So if I get 90 degrees to the camera, you can see the ball is right off of my spine. Don't get it back so far, because wedges, your sand wedges, have bounce. And bounce is that second number you'll see here. We've got a 54-degree wedge here, and I've got 14 degrees of bounce on this wedge. And what bounce is the amount of roll. The back of the wedge is higher than the front leading edge of the wedge. And what that does, it allows the club to skip. It doesn't dig. And that's very, very important. So here's what Tiger does to hit this shot. It's all right arm dominated. It's called a pitch shot for that reason. It's just like taking your right hand and making a toss with it. The right arm picks it up. As your right arm hits the shot, your eyes need to follow the shot. Don't keep your head down. It's the first thing everybody's taught. It's the worst thing you can do. My right arm's going to pick the club up. My eyes immediately follow the ball, and that ball spins, and it's 4 inches from the cup. Easy par. That's what you guys can do too. It's all technique. This is not talent. You can be as good as a tour player at this. Remember, right arm picks it up, your eyes follow the ball, piece of cake shot.
Rhode Island. All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. Thanks to Randy Joyner of Tour Techniques and the club pro over at the Ballantyne Country Club. Maybe some guys are going to fear some of these younger guys that are coming up, Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth. Maybe some of these guys are going to fear him on a Sunday wearing that red shirt. Time now for some final thoughts. Let's go with you, Mountaineer Mike. What do you got first?
My final thought is I know Hornets fans, playoffs are not in the picture anymore, and maybe you've given up on the season. Take a look out west in the Western Conference. The race for the playoffs is really incredible right now because you have the Rockets and the Warriors that are battling for the 1 to 2 seed, and that gets a lot of the attention. But 3 through 10, there's about 4 games that separate the 3rd seed from the 10th seed, and only 8 get in. So it's the Spurs right now are tied for 8th, and they're actually on the outside looking in because of tiebreaker. But here's the thing, the Utah Jazz, they have this season have an 11-game win streak, have a 7-game win streak, have had a 6-game win streak, and right now they're tied for 8th. That's how they're having a great season, and they still could miss the playoffs. So keep an eye on the Western Conference. I know it's going to be the Rockets and Warriors in the Western Conference Finals or whatever, but the race for some really good teams to make the playoffs is really intense right now.
All right, Will, what do you got?
I'm going to go to the NFL. I have 2 teams. My Cowboys on my heart, and I pull for the Panthers as my second team because I live in Charlotte. I need one of them to do something to excite me. The Cowboys are hemorrhaging.
Well, I hope it's Carolina. As a Redskins fan, I hope it's Carolina.
My Cowboys are hemorrhaging players like the government is hemorrhaging money right now.
That's a lot.
So I need them to start signing some people, give me some excitement for next year. And the Panthers, I like to see the Panthers do the same thing. And I guess it's, Coach Wilkes and Coach Brown are friends of mine, and some of my clients as well. I need the Cardinals to do a little bit too. Right. One thing about working with these guys and becoming friends with these guys so much, it's harder and harder every season to have somebody that I hate. Like I used to hate the Redskins, then I had Redskins fans. I've got, clients. I've got Eagles clients. I've got Giants clients. So now it makes it harder to hate them.
I'm a fan of money, and I'm a fan of your money since I don't have it. So I have to live through you. I hope. By the way, I hope we have the Clother Classic coming up May 21st. And at the what's the club down in South Carolina?
Carolina Lakes Golf Club.
Carolina Lakes Golf Club. So get your foursomes in. Make a donation to the the foundation?
William Wilson Charitable Foundation.
Please do that. It's for a very worthy cause. And I'll say I'm for. We got NASCAR out at Fontana at the Auto Club Speedway. I think your guy Kurt Busch is ready to go. Will those Fords look strong? Ask Kevin Harvick.
He's due.
And that's his team. So look out for them. But, of course, I'm pulling for the JTG Doherty Racing of A.J. Allmendinger and Chris Buescher. So for Kevin Tolbert and Jesse, the body pigeon over here, our intern, Reggie Walker somewhere, JT, Mike Pacheco.
Jesse, the body pigeon?
That's his name, man.
The body pigeon?
He was. What do you want to call him, the Birdman?
I'll come up with something better for you.
You come the Birdman? All right. For William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer, I'm Kevin Casey. This has been Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
Money Mike!
What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? Right now!
3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Talking About Sports here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
I think what was interesting was last preseason, it seemed like the team was like penalty after penalty after penalty.
Can we put him on the field with these other 4 guys and create situations where nobody is able to be doubled?
They started competing and recruiting and getting defensive linemen like Alabama. I think that's where you're starting to see them really take that next step.
Yeah. He's one of 6 centers in NBA history to have an average of double-double in their first 13 seasons, and he's up with the names of Moses Malone and Will Chamberlain.
There we go. I'll take that. Best driver of the day, man.
A lot of these guys that play for the Knights are going to be in the majors someday, and it's exciting to see.
No, I kind of don't take what I have for granted, and I've worked for what I've had so far.
He's a humble kid, and for a kid to be that good, sometimes I think people overlook his ability.
Does anybody know where the NBA draft is being held?
Barclays Center.
Okay.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Why is that?
Yeah. So 3 guys know, Kevin.
Okay, well, I'm glad.
The one everybody's talking about is the guard out of France.
Frank Ntilikina. I think they've been sipping too much Chardonnay in Chapel Hill.
If you so tough, put a jersey on.
Get ready for a new experience. We're talking about sports on ADSN.
He is the best high school player in person that I have ever seen.
They are not adverse to taking the, quote, necessary shortcuts as it comes to college athletics.
Want to party on game day? Catch the Tailgate Throwdown.
It's on the 6th, and that's this week's Tailgate Throwdown.
We're talking about sports.
Talking sports. Talking about sports.
We're talking about sports.
We're talking about sports on ADSN.
This is Talking About Sports. Talking About Sports. This is Talking About Sports.
Until you actually get your hands on the player and see the player day in and day out, it's sometimes it doesn't match up. What you see coming in isn't what you thought you bought.
No one else is going to touch that program right now with all that are going on down there, and he's in the of it.
They say there's a line between love and hate. There's also a thinner line between fashion and a fool.
Tighten up. For Coach Davis, JT, what'd you do on all those chess tournaments you played in?
Nice.
Oh,
Like I'm Carlton or somebody from the Fresh Prince. I mean, what's up?
Are you sponsored by the SIDs?
Yeah.
Like a race car driver. Yeah, when you talk about Duke,
King of Media Relations up at Wake Forest. I could use a 40 right about now. I like to have a little Mickey's Big Mouth right now.